Call the meeting to order of the Oxford Downtown Development Authority Board Meeting, October 21st. Please rise and pay respects to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Do we have roll calls, Catherine?
Sure. Charles.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Holden. Here.
Here. Not all here, though.
House is excused. Nicosia.
Here.
Piper.
Here.
And Taylor.
Here.
And I'm here.
Sorry.
That was a test.
That was a test.
See if everybody's following up. All right, thank you. Any public comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none, moving right along. Consent agenda. We have approval of the proposed agenda.
I move that we approve the proposed agenda.
One second.
Been moved by Charles and seconded by Coleman. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. And under consent agenda B, C, and D, if we could combine those.
I'll make a motion to approve and file the September 24 meeting minutes, police report, and code enforcement report as reported.
Yeah, it's been moved, supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same thing. Financials, A and B together.
I move that we accept the financial statements and revenue expenditure reports and the bills for September 2024
In the amount.
in the amount of, and I don't have the sheet in front of me, so help me out here, the amount of
$28,909.57.
small print here, $28,909.57.
To be exact, thank you.
I'll second.
Seconded by Cole.
Charles, second by Coleman. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Taylor.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes.
Nicosia.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Holden. Yes. Howard.
Yes.
Charles.
Yes.
And Schultz.
Yes, thank you. DDA reports. Board committee report?
Okay, let's turn to that page there.
Yep.
Do you want to read it, Peter? Do you want me to read it, or do we
No.
need to read it, or what do you think the proper procedure would be?
You can go ahead and give a report.
Well, see, as it says here, these are the minutes. Chair Brad Jacobson, myself, Pete, Randy Lavoisier, and Executive Director Kelly Westbrook. You see, we talked about the crosswalk. As it says here, we looked at the activities about planning it, et cetera. And the ARPA money, and then the matching money that we need to set aside to cover our part of it. And I'm summarizing, by the way, rather than reading verbatim. And here we talked about the ARPA funding and some of the issues that came up with the, was it Main Street meeting with the village about the funding using the ARPA money, that we need a special number that is assigned to the village, and that the fact that the DDA needs to go through the village as a flow-through entity for us to get the money for this project. Okay? We talked about staffing, workload, talked about bringing Kelly up to full-time during the budget year. Did not have figures. Brad said that Kimberly received a wage increase, da-da-da-da-da. Discussion was held at the time about timesheets, work logs, so we'd be helpful in reviewing these issues. And then, as it says here, Brad and Corey had an agenda. We had some issues about that, and I'm just summarizing again that you can read this yourself. But Brad mentioned that he had been calling because he does Santa Claus. And as everyone knows, he's a pretty good Santa Claus. He's in high demand. He's probably one of the best Santa Claus in Oakland County. So everyone better be on your best behavior. But then Kelly didn't really care for the fact she thought she was being challenged on her work ethic. So she became upset and left the meeting. So, and gave us looks like a prepared resignation letter from September. So we talked about that, and then I suggested we adjourn the meeting, and we left, as it says here, at 11:40. So, maybe not the best meeting anyone's ever had, but in some, that's what happened.
All right, EV committee.
Can I catch my breath?
We love hearing you talk.
Oh, you're in the right place, brother.
I
Don't get me going. All right, EV committee. Let me get some notes here. There's a few things I wanted to bring up for that EV. It was myself, Kimberly Smith, CJ Gosdor. Ashley was missing, as was
Me.
Marie Power. Sorry, Marie. You're sitting right here. It's rubbing off on Catherine. So just going ahead with that there, we talked about, the idea of, here again, how do we increase walkability, which is a constant subject in downtown Oxford, right, with the traffic and things like that. A lot of ideas about trying to get people into the downtown area from outside of Oxford. We discussed 3 specific businesses that tend to bring in people that don't live in Oxford, places like maybe Clarkston or Rochester, etc. And we kind of honed in a little bit on the movie theater and talked about ways that the movie theater would be a way to attract people, because it's something that most communities don't have anymore. And I know from my own business life that there's a lot of people that I would speak with in other communities that would drive to Oxford just to go to the theater. And then CJ brought up the point that he called it a force multiplier, meaning that people would come to the theater and then do some shopping downtown. They might go for dinner, at Marie's place or something like that. So that was one of the things we talked about at length. Or maybe even bought a pizza someplace, if there's any pizza places in Oxford. But the idea was that folks, finding a business that attracts somebody so that people come around, hang around, and then do some ancillary business. That was a big part of our discussion. We also discussed, here again I'm summarizing all this, talking with real estate developers and seeing what they would give us as far as some input as to what would help us from an economic standpoint, specifically commercial realtors. And there's a few around. So that was one of the actionable things, is that a proper adverb? I don't know. Things that we can do is contact people that can say, from a developer, what are we doing right? Maybe what some things that we can do to improve the downtown, particularly the side streets. Burdick and some other side streets that make it easier to get around without going through the dust, etc., from the gravel trucks. So, Kimberly, is there anything that comes to your mind? You were at the meeting, it was just you and I and CJ. Did that cover enough to give us the flavor? Okay. Well, sorry guys, I'm done now.
Very good, Rod, thank you. Very informative. Promo committee. Sure.
Okay, so we first talked about the staffing updates and whatnot, and the changes that we might be seeing, and potentially the committee members needing to help out a little bit more at some of the upcoming events, which I think a couple of us will more than happy to assist. We do have a lot coming up. We've got Witches Night on Friday, the Lady Shopping Day, Shop Small Saturday, the Soup and Sweet Stroll, which is one that we really focused on because there we're going to need extra volunteers and a little more organization because the whole town comes out for that. And it's such a great evening. And then also the Holiday Parade, Dude's Day, and then the Polar Express, where that day we're going to need a little more help to actually facilitate everything and have it run smoothly as it did. So, we are going to meet twice in November just to make sure that we're on point and keep it all together. Did I miss anything?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Very good, thank you. Next on the list would be the design committee.
Design committee, okay. We met, we discussed 2 new sign grants, which we will go over new business, the one for Scotch Toys and one for Oxford Jewelers, which changed owners, so there's different jewelers there. We also discussed coming up events, the ribbon cutting, which many of us were already at. discussed having a truck photo shoot, which has passed, and I don't believe did that. At least that was not fair. Did we do a photo shoot with did we hire somebody?
No,
No.
we actually talked about it in the promo
We did.
meeting, and Melissa posted it, I don't know if she posted it on her page or the business page, about soliciting if there were any photographers that would be interested in doing it, like, for a donation basis. So we were thinking, just depending on whether if we could get somebody in quickly, we could do fall, or kind of focus it more on the holidays as we get closer. We were thinking about potentially moving the truck from Washington Square over to behind the dealership, but that's still in discussions. That's a next week thing.
We discussed Witches Night. We also discussed a couple things coming up that Holly already mentioned, but we did discuss Shop Small Saturday, just because that falls on November 30th, and that's Wildcat Remembrance Day.
Mhm.
So discuss doing some special, Wildcat coffee mugs or something, so we could, have the Remembrance Day. Make sure people are aware. What else? Everything else? Started to discuss, Sweet and Sweet, Tuesday, Polar Express. We didn't have any updates for placemaking. Courtyard lights were completed. I don't know, that's about it. We had a really long meeting, and doesn't seem like it, but we had a lot of discussion, so that's about it.
Very good. Thank you. And Executive Director's Report.
All right, so we had a very busy last month. I know at least in the committee meetings that I sat in, I was requesting feedback on Scarecrow Fest. We did get a lot of positive feedback. There were a couple not as positive pieces of feedback, but of course we're gonna get that with anything. But overall, I think the biggest thing walking away was the question of, for next year, do we want to be more picky-choosy with our vendor market, or do we want to just keep growing and growing? Because some of the feedback that we received is the duplication of the types of vendors. Some of the vendors were not as happy about having competition, so to speak, within the market. Within our summer series and our holiday markets, we are more choosy when it comes to the types of vendors, and we try to limit duplications. But for Scarecrow Fest, because it is a larger event, we just kind of let anybody who's interested do it. So that's definitely a talking point for next year. Whether we want to keep it kind of small and more intimate, or if we want to continue to grow it and stretch it throughout downtown.
Kimberly, the comments that, as far as that's concerned, was that from the vendors or was that from the public?
From the vendors.
Okay.
Yep.
Any comments from the public on what they wanted to see?
We have not assessed that as of yet. I think from a consumer standpoint, most people like the option of different vendors because then they can price, check. So I know, for example, we had 4 or 5 different cookie vendors, and they all kind of brought a little something different. So as a consumer, that seems very appealing. But we did not do any sort of survey to get accurate data. It's just hearsay at this point.
I had a lot of people in because I'm one of the first bathrooms people get to from there. So they oh, I'm sorry.
Could be recommended.
Go ahead, Scott.
I'm sorry. And I actually did talk to 4 or 5 folks that came in to use a bathroom or get a drink or something, and they were very impressed with the scale of it.
Oh,
The
okay.
fact that it was in the street and it was
Yeah.
on both sides of 24.
Yeah.
So it was people that normally come to the vendor markets.
Mhm.
And so, and I would say half of those people were vendors and half of them
Interesting.
weren't. So
Okay.
that was the feedback I got. For some reason, people talked to the pizza guy. So
Yeah. You just have that face.
Marie?
Maybe just as for the future, if we try to spread out those similar vendors, not necessarily reduce the number, but certainly not have them all in a row, so.
And we did
Yeah.
our best
Okay.
attempt with that. So just for mindset, we had about double the number of vendors at our Scarecrow Fest than our regular summer market. So when we have 4 cookie vendors, we are going to have 2 in the same area. For us, it's exciting because I keep saying we and me
That's
now, but it's exciting for us because we're showing the growth. We're showing that the vendors want to participate in our market in this town. But again, if we're continuing to get negative feedback. And the other problem that we had, and this is a learning lesson for next year, is the way that we had the application is you can get through it without actually providing too much detail around what your business is. So it could just say jewelry. So for example, we had 2 permanent jewelry. That was the biggest kind of snafu. We had 2 permanent jewelry vendors. One had just said jewelry and didn't clarify that it was permanent jewelry. So they were not in the same sector, but they were close enough that one of the vendors was very unhappy with that and made the decision to leave during the event. So, because it's such a particular kind of specialized product, she was just not very happy about that. So it was a learning lesson for next year.
Okay, very good.
Moving on, so we revealed the courtyard. We have event planning for all the events that we've discussed. I met with All for Oxford Advisory Committee, so that was kind of touching on the initiative is the Hug in a Mug for the Shop Small Saturday. So the idea is to have kind of a kickoff event early in the day, and the first 100 individuals that come to this kickoff will receive a mug with a logo from the school district, and it'll have hot tea or hot cocoa. My understanding is we already have a business that's going to supply that for us. And then that'll kind of kick off that small business Saturday, and we'll have the bags and the swag and all of the things to get people to shop downtown. But also we want to, one of the things that I thought was really, it really resonated with me was holding space for both events on the same day. So when we're messaging, making sure that we're using kind of the appropriate messaging to give the respective remembrance, but also supporting our businesses in their day as well. So I'm working with them on actual terminology in our posting, so to make sure that we can do that with respect. And then the alternative option is to be able to shop from home through the OC Main Street. So if people are not feeling very, interested in being out in public or in around crowds or spaces on that day, then they can shop through the Main Street or business websites. We had the huddle this last month. The T-Mobile final report was submitted. The stats were submitted. The trolley app, which has been kind of a pain, we've realized that it's very, very picky on the address. So if we put it in with like the prefix, it doesn't work, but if we don't put it in within the prefix, it does seem to work. So we have that all sorted out. Continuing to meet with Lake Orion DDA and attending the committee meetings. We hosted a social media 101 training that was facilitated by our Thrive organization for business owners. I think it was helpful, but I think we could do better for the future. So we had some conversations with Lake Orion about maybe looking at a different facilitator or host and kind of massaging the material a little bit more to make it more beneficial for the businesses to be able to walk away with some actionable steps instead of just theoretical ideas. We also had an IG takeover day as part of the Michigan Downtown Association. So we highlighted Oxford and all of the cool things that we were doing here. Kelly attended the Oxford Community Leaders Meeting last month. We continued on with our podcast, and then obviously I think we'll get into this in a couple minutes, but Kelly has been spending the last week and a half transitioning. So we spent a lot of time on that over the last 10 days.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is unfinished old business, and that would be the strategic plan. Could you give an update with Christine, please?
Sure, yep. So my understanding, I was not at the last month's board meeting, but my understanding was she came to the board meeting, she presented her presentation. The intent was to get feedback from the board if there were any questions, concerns, things to add, things to look at. And then she was going to move forward based on that information and putting the final product together and the deliverables to us. So right now in the process, again, because I wasn't there, I just needed to confirm if there were any pieces that needed to be looked at or if you felt comfortable with what she had presented last month.
think that was it.
Okay, so moving forward, I'll work with her and we'll get the final deliverables. And then Pete and I had talked about making sure that everybody gets a copy of that, as well as the committee leaders to have a copy of that, so we're all kind of singing off of the same song sheet going forward.
And we should have that by the November meeting then?
I believe so. I believe she was gonna work on it this week.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Moving on to new business, sign grants. First one we have in the packet is for Scott's Toys.
Yeah, so you can see the view of the Scotch Toys. They have a temporary sign up now, but they want to do something permanent. They want to put it kind of on the corner because they're kind of hidden in the back there. So if you put it on the corner of the main street, people will be able to see it as they walk by. And so the committee approved 50% up to $1,500 for a sign. We think that it may be, it's possible for him to get it for less than $3,000, but his quote did come in at $3,400. But they're working on getting some things changed. So if it does come in under $3,000, we'll only do 50%.
Rod, just a question, does this make the ordinances, the signs?
Yes, we were told it did. I haven't looked. I asked that question and we were told yes.
I can't recall what the sign was. Is it a wall expecting sign?
Which one that sticks out?
It sticks out.
It's like a-
Diagonal.
Yeah, Isabel. That was best of them.
Right.
We love, we're so criteria, I mean, so many people involved.
Looks nice.
But yeah, I was told it did.
Let me just to be safe. So,
I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the sign grant for Scott's Toys at 2 South Washington in the amount of, for 50% of their total cost up to a maximum of $1,500.
I'll second that.
Been moved by Coleman, supported by Charles. Is there any questions? Do we have a roll call on that, please?
Clark,
Yes.
Nicosia,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Holden, yes, and Schultz.
Yes. Next on the agenda, 9A, number 2, Oxford Jewelers.
Oxford Jewelers, okay. Oxford Jewelers, there's a new, they're taking over the Mark Young Jewelers location, it's new owners. So they're changing the name to Oxford Jewelers. Away from the Mark Young, I think they're reusing part of the sign, like the Jewelers part, and just moving the Oxford in. So they wanted the sign grant, picture here, see the Mark A. Young Jewelers. If you look at the picture, you can see the jewelers is the same, they're just kind of taking out the Mark A. Young and putting in Oxford. So we discussed approving, saying 50% up to a maximum of $1,500.
Question.
Rod?
Did the deal go through?
I can't answer that question. Did you went through? I assumed it did. It was going through. We wouldn't still have this here.
When's the last time you spoke with them?
But it would have been a while. So, do we know if the deal went through?
I don't know, Scott, you're a neighbor, maybe you've heard, I've heard it didn't go through.
You heard it didn't go through?
But that's unconfirmed, so I don't make it as a statement.
Yeah.
It's kind of a
I just
question.
know Mark's there every day still.
He is. So maybe we want to put this on hold until we can confirm that.
Mhm.
Would it, I don't,
I mean, it would be pending the deal go through, right?
Right, it was.
Right. yeah, otherwise, why would we?
So you can still approve it.
Yeah.
Could we approve it pending
Pending.
verification, some language like that, Karen?
Yeah, pending the
Contingent upon
contingent upon the
a
sale.
signed
of-
purchase
Sale.
agreement or whatever.
Yeah,
That way he doesn't have to wait another month.
right,
True.
exactly, that's why I
Right.
said we do it pending and make sure that we're, yeah, okay, sounds good. So we'll let you come up with the language for that, Mrs. Mulder.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the sign grant for Oxford Jewelers for 50% of the total cost up to a maximum of $1,500 contingent upon the jeweler changing ownership.
I support that.
Moved by Coleman, support.
Taylor.
Yeah, I was gonna say, support.
It's catchy, Marie.
I was thinking
I
two
know.
things at the same time. Yeah. Any other questions on that or discussion? Roll call. Yes,
Yeah,
Bryce?
do we have any concern about the age of the second part, like the part that they're keeping? And if it's gonna match up really well to the brand new one that's coming out?
It said they're gonna paint it all when you read the description.
I didn't hear what you said, Scott. Scott?
They're gonna paint it.
I didn't hear what
He
you said.
said, it said in the description that it was gonna, they were gonna paint everything,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
okay.
paint all the letters.
Yep.
That's all.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Piper,
Yes.
Colvin, yes. Charles,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Schultz,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Very good. And Kimberly, you'll reach out to both parties on these and make them aware and everything, go through the proper paperwork and everything. Okay, thank you very much. Next on the list is the resignation of Kelly Westbrook.
I move to accept the resignation of DDA Director Kelly Westbrook effective immediately.
It's been moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved by Charles, supported by Colvin. Any discussion? Roll call. There was a roll call on that, please.
We can do it, please.
Sure. Schultz,
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Colvin, yes. Clark,
Yes.
Nicosia,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Okay. I'm just reading this verbatim, which was handed to us before.
Yep, no problem.
I move to appoint Kimberly Smith as the at-will interim DD Director effective October 22, 2024 for up to 120 days, and the salary to be based on the 2021 interim director's salary of $54,995.20 with an additional 2% increase for years 2022, 23, 24 for a starting salary for the interim director of $58,361.34. And to direct the DD organization committee to meet with the interim director and bring back a negotiated wage and benefits package to the full DDA board for consideration at the regularly scheduled DDA board meeting on November 18th, 2024.
I'll second.
Well, my question is, where did you get that from?
You don't.
Yeah, can you give us some options, and I wrote options down, you want some salary feedback, so I went back to look this evening on what the salary was then. And I was just putting out, you know, for me. That was just something to play off of, it wasn't, I'm just guessing.
Oh, okay, then I hadn't had a chance to read it either, so I was just kind
Did
of.
you have a copy of it?
No, that's why I asked where you got that from.
Oh,
I could get us some salary background information and stuff like that, so I did, you know, I didn't hear from him, so right before the meeting, I put it out. I didn't give things up, that's.
Thought you got a copy too.
It was like a gram for.
oh. I thought you gave a copy to everybody.
No, you'd ask for some feedback, background and stuff, so I thought, well.
I asked for some salary stuff, yeah. Yeah.
And I
May I
didn't know.
We can simplify that
Marie?
too, by the way.
The salary that's stated here is for 120 days, is that what I heard?
No,
Is
I
that
just
correct?
put a term out there because if you go through a process, who knows what, you might have something back completely next month. I didn't know where you guys were gonna go. I didn't know if we were gonna get appointed tonight. I didn't know if we were gonna go for posting. I didn't know any of that stuff. So I gave them a couple different options based on the conversation today. And I thought, well, you have to have some idea what the salary was. I know what she makes now, but she's part-time hourly. I went back and looked what the last interim director was, and that stayed in there. I'm like, well, you don't want to go with that because 2 years old. So I thought, well, throw 2% on there each year, bring it up some. And that's all for consideration and massaging as you guys see fit.
Okay, just taking a minute to digest this.
Again, I didn't want to just land to get everybody else, a lot of, well, that, background,
Yeah,
salary information.
just real
things like
quickly,
that.
what I was trying to do is get an idea of what a good salary would be. I mean, off the top of my head, and this is not part of that proposal, was, what is it, $21 an hour, Kimberly? And just bring it up to a $40 would be the easy way to do it. And then this is probably bringing it higher than that, I would think, much higher than that.
To recap what you're saying, is her current salary as a part-time assistant is $21. If you just said 40 hours time, that's paying her the same duties, just more hours. But if you went to make her interim director, then more was on her plate. And so I thought, well, I want you to background of where the interim director was before. And that's what that number of 55 and change started at. And I thought, well, that's 3 years old, 3.5 years old. So I thought, well, for argument's sake, I thought, well, let's throw a little increase on there for those 3 years, and that's what the new amount will be. That's just me spitballing like an hour ago.
So basically what that is he was like math class showing his work.
Just so I understand.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm-
we basically have to decide hours and salary tonight, and then, well, or make the recommendation to the board, or, we, I guess, and then we have to get the final contract approved by the village council, correct?
Yeah. The salary is part of the statute, is approved by council.
Right. The
Board
hiring,
hires,
yes, this board hires, the actual salary it has to be approved by the village council.
but as an interim director, I think we have the leeway to put an interim director salary in place while you did the, come back with something more solid next month, maybe. Again, I was just, today, Robert Conley, I don't know what direction the board was gonna go, but it was a couple different options.
Yeah,
Maureen?
I guess my question is, what are we being asked to do tonight? Are we being asked to approve the appointment of an interim director or something else?
That is totally up to you guys.
Yes.
The
Well,
only-
that's the conversation that needs to happen.
Yeah, that's- we need to have that
We'll put the cart
conversation.
before the horse.
Yeah, I'm confused what we're,
The only caveat there, and that
Doing.
he says, a final salary for the executive DDA director, according to statute, is approved by village council.
Correct.
So you can go through the motions and appointing her as an interim, or as the DDA director, or leave her as a part-time, all those things are up for discussion by that board.
Correct.
Rod just asked me today, how's this gonna work, what do we do, what's the salary, well, where's she at now, and I asked her just today, I didn't know she made till today, and it's an hourly rate as a part-time person. If you put somebody in an interim position, they're obviously taking on more responsibility and stuff, I
Right.
don't think that's fair, and Bill
Right.
probably would agree, don't just pile down more stuff and pay the same rate.
Correct.
mhm.
Right.
So I thought, well, at 6 p.m. tonight, I want to go back and look what the last interim director was, 3.5 years ago. And that's what it was. And I thought, well, that's 3.5 years ago, you know, so if you add 2% a year over the next 3 years, here's the number that comes out of that. That's not saying any of that's written in stone, it's in black and white, but it's all up for massaging and discussion by you, the board.
So I think that sheet that Joe gave me was maybe a little bit overdone in terms of the background there with 2% and everything years and years. That was probably unnecessary because as Marie was saying here, I think the idea is, we had Kelly originally as an interim director, 3.5 years ago?
Yeah,
For about
and that's why I
6 months, I think, something like that, maybe less, I don't know.
I pulled up both contracts and looked what it was, and it went from whatever that 55 and change is the interim. I think the initial one was 60, I don't recall what month the final one was done, I don't recall.
So the purpose of that sheet then, and I think we might want to read it out loud again, is to have an interim director for a limited amount of time. And then raise the pay
After you meet,
at the same time. And then I guess the third element would be is the organization committee can meet tomorrow for that matter, or Wednesday, and officially post it, and it may be Kimberly, it may be somebody else, but right now, the idea is to have this set up and give a higher pay than it would be if we just increase the hours to 40.
Being as we're in the discussion mode right now, we also have the option of appointing Kimberly tonight as the director, and then the wage and benefit package would be then finalized at the November meeting, going to the village council for their approval in November. But at the same time, the wage would take effect as of right now, as opposed to a step wage, not the, you know, if she's doing the job, then I feel she should be getting the director's full pay for it. That's my personal opinion.
well, like I said, that's just something I put together about 6 p.m. tonight, going back and looking up what the old starting wage was for the interim, and then that was March 21.
It doesn't say. Any
Yeah,
other thoughts?
I think it was March or April 21, it seems like.
Joe, what's the salary on there? What's the bottom line if you leave out all the verbiage in the middle?
58.
58.3,
58,000 what?
361.
361?
Again, and that was based on the 2021 spring interim.
Yeah, well, that whole part was fine. But,
I just wanted to see how it might have progressed or whatever.
yeah.
That's, early for you guys to.
Well, I think for a resolution, that wasn't necessary.
Thoughts, questions, anybody else? Input, Scott?
I'll go first. I think, I'm the new guy, right, so I've only been on the outside looking in, but I have been on Lake Orion School Board for 10 years. We've hired a lot of people and went through a lot of processes and a lot of postings. We just went through one to hire our superintendent, which there was 3 of us that wanted to hire a professional that had been there for 26 years. And then there was 3 people that were kind of, well, you know, I think we should see what we can get, and there's greener grass and things like that. And we literally went through a 3-month process and we hired her. And she has been dynamite. So I believe in a process, but I think when you have a situation such as this with a professional that we already have, that's literally been our professional's right-hand man, woman, I think that with this type of position and how hands-on it is and how part of your life it is, and just all the events and different things, plus knowing the day-to-day operations and the grant pieces and the reporting to T-Mobile and all these things, like she knows those things. I personally think at 60 grand, you're never gonna get anything close to what we have. So that would be my professional opinion and my personal opinion, not having been on the board that long. So that would be my take.
Good thoughts.
I think we can basically,
Brad?
I think we can move this along pretty quickly. I mean, my whole thing is, I agree with what Scott's saying. I think we may end up with the same person, but I think there's good optics at least going through a process. You know, to say that we just slide somebody in. Plus, you know, for a long time, I think Kimberly has done a good job in a lot of areas, but you get into some of the meetings, like it's good to see her today doing the board meeting. We've tried to do that before, but always got shut down. So we may end up with the same person as you did in Orion. And I don't think it'd take us but a month or so. I don't see why we would not want to follow a process.
Well, you're not following a process. Just the process you're following is you're hiring the person that's already been trained for the job for 2 years. So
Right.
that's, I mean, I think that as you get higher in, you know, doctorate level positions and things like that, and that's when people are fighting things out. But when you have somebody that is local to the community, she's already done the job, she's willing to work for what we want to pay her, she wants the job, to me, it seems like a no-brainer. And I hired hundreds of people, and knowing her personally and professionally, that's where I would stand. I just think that the process, doing a process for optics, when you end up hiring the same person, you get the, look at the time and money you guys wasted. You could have hired the person who was there. You got somebody who was there.
Right. Catherine?
Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, I think Kimberly's done a great job, and I don't want to send a message to anybody coming in that you can never be promoted here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Agreed.
Somebody should be able to be promoted from an assistant position to an the director position, if they've done a good job. So, I mean, that's my message, and I understand going through the process, but we're gonna have to go through a process for the assistant director or
Correct.
somebody to help Kimberly. So, we're gonna have to go through that process anyway for one person.
Marie?
Yeah, I mean, we have a very well-qualified person who's been doing a big chunk of the job already. And it's my only reservation was to make sure that we were following due process. And if we are, then we don't have any fears of retribution.
Correct.
And I would rather not lose the time that we have going into a very busy season, waiting to hire someone, and 80% chance we're gonna have the same decision made anyway. So that would be my input, as long as we're following the correct process.
Yeah. As I stated earlier, my concern is I don't want to see creating an interim position at a reduced rate of pay, at the same time expecting the same amount of workload as the director is supposed to be getting. That doesn't make sense.
She's gonna do the same work regardless, among them.
Correct. So, I mean, my opinion, I would rather see us appoint as director tonight and be done with it, and just be on with the benefit package negotiated or not negotiated, but approved, because we don't know whether she's gonna take the insurance or not take the insurance, or take a buyout or not. I mean, that would be part of something that we would
That's all
have to,
contract.
that's all contract based, we have to talk out, and then that would be presented at the November meeting in the first place, but I would rather get, the director taken care of tonight.
Do we know that she wants the position?
She did,
She gave us a.
she did give us a red letter of intent
Okay.
in the package here, and her resume is involved, included with it also, and then also what she's been doing as her regular job then too.
Do we take a vote?
We have to
So,
take a vote.
we have to
then.
take a vote.
If you wanna proceed the way you're saying, we have to vote that down then.
Correct. So I will call for the question then on what Rod had presented.
We're doing a roll call on that.
You have to do a roll.
Yeah, we'll
Well,
do a roll call on that, yes.
Okay. Okay, Charles?
Well, just, can someone frame it,
Oh.
please?
Yeah, Fran, you're right, because it's kind of been a while, plus it's a long lengthy,
What would be, that we are asking, the motion that Mr. Charles read was to appoint her as an interim up to 120 days at the reduced of the salary of $58,000.
$361.
Yep, and go through that process. Or we have the option, if we vote no, then that would rescind this, then we can come back with a new motion after that.
Right.
So we have to vote no if we want to proceed with that.
Correct.
Proceed, we have to vote no on this.
So that we can,
On the interim.
yep.
Yeah, on the interim thing.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, Charles?
Yes.
Powers?
No.
Colvin, no. Clark?
No.
Nicosia?
No.
Piper?
Just to be clear, no means you are turning down
The
the
interim.
motion.
The
Interim.
Yeah.
The interim.
Correct.
Yes.
Taylor?
No.
Charles? Schultz?
No.
So we need to have another resolution to,
I would make a motion to promote, hire to the position of executive director, full-time position with that salary, the same salary that was existing, which is 72,000, I believe it is. And the benefit package to be worked out in the contract negotiations, and then the salary to be approved at the village council meeting in November, effective as of today.
Support.
Then moved by Schultz, supported by Taylor. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Taylor?
Yes.
Piper?
Yes.
Nicosia?
Yes.
Clark?
Yes.
Colvin, yes. Powers?
Yes.
Charles?
no.
And Schultz?
Yes. Thank you, board members.
Welcome to the firm.
Yeah, welcome to the firm. All right, next on the agenda is the executive to fill the position of an assistant director. We need to go ahead and post, advertise that, and move forward to hire a new assistant. And there's also discussion that we've had at the org meeting to start off with, was actually creating that position a full-time position as opposed to a 25-hour position. So that's open to discussion. And I would be looking forward to a motion to be able to say, let's go out to post the position.
And that was one of the things in the strategic plan also, is that they had recommended taking that up to full-time.
Yes, that's what Christine had put into her report, yes.
Do we have the funding, I guess, to
Yes.
support that?
Mhm.
I guess my other, can I talk?
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Scott, sorry.
I guess my other thing would be, the disconnect that happened in the org meeting as far as, if the org committee wants to see, more of a breakdown of how the time is spent, perhaps that's something that we start at the beginning to say, okay,
Correct.
this is your gig, and these are the things you're gonna do, and, you know, we're gonna do a monthly timesheet, or not a timesheet, but just kind of a summary of, a summary of, yeah, a flow sheet, a summary of, you know, accomplishments this week, much like this one that we just got. But I wanna, obviously, we need to learn from happenings, right? So, as long as, you don't ever want any mystery, like,
Marie?
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think we should put it right in the job description. You know,
Absolutely.
80% of your time is gonna be spent,
sure.
well, be more like 60, 30, 20, whatever.
Rod?
Yeah, I agree with what Marie was saying there too, because we've got a lot of mission creep of a lot of events that pop up all the time. I mean, I think one of the things that you mentioned in the meeting came up was phone calls not being returned and volunteers not being called, things like that. And maybe some of the energy gets taken up on, you know, these Snicker bar events that look good for the day but don't have a long-lasting impact.
Well, Catherine?
I would just suggest sending this back to the org committee. I mean, we're gonna have to do an assistant director, but go back to org committee, let them decide what they want this job to look like, come up with a good job description,
Yeah.
and then go forward from there.
Sounds good.
Mhm.
All right, so that's the direction that you're saying then? We'll send it back to the org committee?
I'd say.
Yeah,
With the advice being that it's got some specificity about job duties, so we don't have this mission creep.
Look at that, definitely. Okay, then that's what we'll do. That takes care of that, and that takes care of that. Oh, an item on here that we did not put on here that we need to address is Grace was our vice chairman, and had Grace resigned, so we are in the need of a,
no, I'm
New-
vice chairman.
you are now?
Yeah,
Marie is.
I always
Marie-
was.
I thought
On the
Marie-
board, she was, she had signed up for, it's one of the
She was
committees.
Economic Vitality Committee.
Yeah, and she signed up to be, I can't
The
remember.
501, I think.
The
she wanted
501.
to.
501, yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
never mind. My
There you
mistake.
go.
You could
You're off the hook,
replace
Dave.
me if you want.
I am misspoken.
You don't have to replace it.
I will not be at the November meeting, and possibly not the December meeting.
Okay.
Other than that, they had no items removed from the agenda. Board member comments, starting Bryce.
Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you.
I think we're all very excited to have you. I'll leave it at that.
Scott.
Welcome, Kimberly. Thank you for the discussion. It was a great meeting. Thank you.
Same here, ditto. I'll also say get out there and vote this month, and excited to have new members and see all of the energy here as well too.
Very good, thank you. Marie.
Yes, thank you, Kimberly. You're gonna do a great job, so we're excited to have you. And wanna thank you and Kelly for everything you've done this month. We've had a great month. Thank you.
Rod.
Yeah, Kimberly, I think you're doing a great job too, despite my vote against the full-time thing for right now, but I told you the reason why. It was actually a compliment to you. But the other thing I'd mention too, going back to our bylaws and things like that, the other thing the organization committee needs to do is come up with some bylaws, because we have in our bylaws that says if you miss 3 meetings, you are removed from the board. We probably need some language that says if they're excused or some terminology, like, I have to review it, but this just comes to mind a little bit, something that says, because we all have things that come up. Like last meeting, I was sick, I couldn't be here. I think I called Joe and said I wasn't gonna be here. Things like that. That's normal, but we probably need to specify that in our bylaws, so it's not just, I didn't feel like going tonight because the Lions are playing or something.
I thought we did say unexcused absences.
I'll have to double check, it just, yeah, I noticed when I went through the board packet the other day when I got it, you know, there was, some of the meetings said somebody was there, others said excused, some didn't, so it's just a thought for us on the organization committee. And the other thing, we have to also tighten up, if I can say this, the members of committees need to be identified when we do these things, who is actually on a committee.
Aren't they here? Aren't they on?
Well, we've had some discussion about that in the past, where we have a file with the names, right, Kimberly, of
We
who's
do.
on the committees.
Mhm.
Because when we vote, I mean, we're a public body, and we're dealing with public funds, so there's a degree of accountability here, so we need to know who's making recommendations to us. So it's not just somebody walks in the door 5 minutes ago and says, oh, I vote to give these guys $1,000. You know, that makes sense? We have, like I said, we're a public body, and we're dealing with public funds, so we gotta make sure we're transparent as heck.
And I'm also not on any committees, if you wanna put me on some, that's okay, too.
We will
Like wherever I
address
need to.
We
Yeah.
will.
We will.
Not all of them, please.
By the way, I was
Ones that are during the
excused
day
because I
and
was on
breakfast.
vacation, so you didn't mark me
That was good.
for the EV committee.
I didn't do the minutes.
Oh, okay,
I would have. No, sir.
okay.
But that's my point, though, is we need to identify that, because here again, if it wasn't a public body, if it was something else, fine, but, you know, I know from the township level, and you probably know it from the school board level, sometimes you get into some of these little rabbit holes that people can cause issues with if you don't do that, right? So, ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
100%.
And just to clarify, I think what, at least the committees that I've been involved in, what we would do is if somebody is interested, they can come to 1 or 2 meetings and make a decision if they want to join the committee. And once they do, then we get that paperwork. But if they have not submitted the paperwork, they wouldn't be able to have a vote on, you know, the financial pieces of it. So that's kind of what we've been doing. I think we're in a pretty good position where we don't have a lot of movement. I know in the org committee, I think there was one maybe that we need to talk about, but I don't know that there's a lot.
There was one person on the organization who expressed interest to me about being on a committee, but as time went on, she didn't attend the meetings. I called her, and she said, you know, that her schedule said she can't be, so. But in the meantime, I've had somebody else approach me about it too, so I'll look into that.
Mhm.
And I think, you know, again, to that point, we should have I'll ask the board meeting, my opinion is we should have, here again, a list of who's on committees. So we know, and each of those committee members should have something in file, right? It
And
says,
I
here's my
believe
name, here's
we
my
do.
address. You
Yeah,
know.
well, we have them sign the application for it. I think that is a good question though, because I think that there was a question that was posed to me about, do we have to get approval from the board for those that want to be on a committee for that exact reason?
And maybe that's part of what the organization committee needs to decide. Should we, if we have a committee, let's say organization committee or EV, should we have the board approve a person to be on a committee? And I'm not trying to be cumbersome, you know, it's not like we want to have some kind of a Mandarin system here.
I believe it's already addressed in the bylaws.
About the approval or not? What does it say
The
then?
board chair is supposed to approve.
Board chair?
That's what you got.
That's right, that was a part that
about
we
a year
did,
ago.
last time we updated that part of it, right? That's the
Catherine?
most recent update.
Catherine?
Welcome, Kimberly, or I guess my condolences. Depending on how you look at it. Anyway, no, I think you're doing a great job, and we're happy to have you. So, thank you.
So, first I'd like to say I am sad to see Kelly leave in the manner that she has. She's done a great job along with your help in bringing people out of their houses into the downtown businesses. So that's been awesome. And I know that she has you set up to be successful. So I have all the confidence in you. Thank you for all that you do for us. And I'm really looking forward to Witches Night. So please stop in at Open Corners and come get your witchy picture with us. It's awesome. It's gonna be great. So that's it.
Welcome, Kimberly. Whoops,
Thank
You want me to go last or you last?
you last. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you.
I'll get with you in the next day or so and go over some more stuff like that. We'll go with Jennifer as far as the benefit package and get all that understood and everything going forward on that. Board members, thank you for tonight. I mean, there was a lot we went through tonight, a lot of good discussion back and forth, and that was healthy for that, and I think it, you know, makes us a stronger board by going through the process to understand how we got to where we are and everything. So, plus we did approve 2 more sign grants, which is, you know, pretty remarkable. So, thank you for everybody for that. Looking forward to the holidays. We got a lot coming up in the next couple of months. So again, every bit of support I'm sure they're going to need that they can get from us. So with that, John.
So yes, it's going to be, next busy, 75 days as we run to the end of the year. And, October was already been very busy, December was very busy, and, I wanna welcome Kimberly. It's been a couple years been working with her, and she's fabulous. I think you guys are in great shape. Kelly's done an awesome job, as you know, and you'll drive through town here in the next 2 or 3 years, you'll be able to see the things that she put in place, the lights on top, and some of those outdoor venue events and stuff like that. So she's definitely left a mark here, and that's great for all of us in the town, and you've been a big part of that. So, I support you 100%. Sometimes I have to go and do my job and maneuver around all these obstacles, and as to Rod's point, a public body and public funds. So, I'll continue to do all that for you and help you in any way I can. Wanted to follow up a little bit on the Scarecrow Festival. It was expanded. You guys talked about how people enjoyed the market being out on Burdick Street East and West. So it was additional challenges for us this year, but obviously DPW and the police, no problem, they met the challenge. Don Brantley, I did have him just check because the council asked me, how much does this additional cost for our DPW work on Sundays cost? Between the overtime and then the double time on Sundays and setting up the road barricades early in the morning, setting up the tents, doing all the stuff, it was $1,881 in wages. And a little bit for trucks, like $200 per truck. And all. So we do all that as a way to, same way we track our MDOT spending for our tax funds. So just in case anybody asks, and I'll provide this to council as well, that's what those costs were. Again, we typically don't work on Sundays, but I think it's worked out well moving that to Sunday, it seems, for the event itself. So that's a great thing. When it comes to the upcoming Soup and Sweet Stroll, our DPW guys, we have 2 new guys, but our main crew is still here. They could probably do everything they need to do in their sleep. They've done that so often. They know where the burn barrels go, they have the wood, they kind of know the routine, they know the next day there's the parade, and move the sound equipment over. So I'm not worried about any of that. It'll continue and it'll be great. Just pray for good weather. We've been lucky lately, so. And in case you haven't heard, Don Brantley gave me the Dear Joe letter I'm leaving you last week. 35 years working here and the DPW superintendent for a long time. Those don't count the years he was working as a minor when he was in the junior high or whatever, but as an adult, 35 years here. January 3rd will be his last day. So he'll help us get through the holidays and some of these events. I shared that with council last week when he gave it to me, and it's out there. It's going to be a big change for Dan. Of course, he's been living in this town and coming to work in this town for most of his entire life. So I don't know if he'll survive retirement or not, but we wish him well. He's got a couple of young grandkids. So just wanted to share that with you guys, share out that we are here, Vicky's here, Kim's here, sign permits, things like that. That's one thing when people talk about the signs. Obviously, we have to come around, circle around to us and make sure we do the permits, let them know what we do, what we don't allow, feather flags and things like that. But our office staff is here. Of course, as you know, we're going through a transition ourselves with the retirement of Terry, our clerk, who's been here for 6 years or so. I've been so busy last week, I haven't barely reached out to our new candidate to start working the process to bring her on board as well. She has elections coming up in her community as well, so she's pretty busy. So other than that, that's what I have, and we'll continue to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Is there any extended public comment? Seeing none, need a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second
It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
At 7:58.
that.
15 minutes.